Mirasee.
The brain is a predictive machine, right? It's learning from the past. I call it the return on investment of the energy it's putting, but it's also wired for survival. It's not wired for our goals of a better life, better careers. It's wired for survival and predicting for it. Do you have the extra energy to invest in something that the brain cannot yet see the return for survival?
Hi, I'm Dr. Irena O'Brien, and you're listening to Neuroscience of Coaching. I'm a cognitive neuroscientist with almost 30 years of study and practice in psychology and neuroscience. And as the founder of the Neuroscience School, I teach coaches and other wellness professionals real-world, evidence-based strategies to use in their own practices. In each episode, I invite a seasoned coach to discuss a topic that affects our field, and together we provide you with science-based tools to help your clients reach their goals by working with their brains to create results that last. Today, I'm talking with one of my Neuroscience School graduates, Ju Macedo. So Ju is an ICF-accredited executive and leadership coach and the founder of the Long Game Mindset Coaching and Consultancy. Following a 2-decade career as a marketing executive in global communities like Nestle, Unilever, and PepsiCo, Ju now helps ambitious leaders achieve sustainable high performance and lead systemic change without burning out. She first discovered applied neuroscience in this very podcast, which inspired her to certify with the Neuroscience School, knowledge that she now applies daily with her clients, teams, and even in how she trains and runs marathons. In our discussion, you'll hear how Ju went from curious learner to confident neuroscience-informed coach, what changed in her practice and her results, and how understanding the brain has shaped the way she supports her clients and herself. Whether you're wondering if this kind of education is ideal for you, or just looking for an honest, behind-the-scenes glimpse of what's possible when you bring neuroscience into your work and life, you're going to love this conversation. Ju, I'm so honored and happy you could be on the show today.
Oh, I'm super happy you invited me. Thank you.
So what first drew you to the Neuroscience School?
First of all, I started listening to this very podcast, as you said, about 2 years ago, and I've been always interested in neuroscience in general. But what I really wanted was to go beyond surface level, like brain hacks, and truly understand behavior change at its core. Because behavior change is brain change, right? And that's what drew me, first of all. Also, how neuroscience was shaping consumer behavior in marketing in my previous career. And I wanted to apply this power for good, for leadership, for personal growth. And your approach stood out, really. Rigorous, science-based, not just popularized myths. So I was skeptical. I wanted to learn, but then I researched deeply, and this podcast gave me trust, and the Neuroscience School delivered on it.
Well, thank you so much for your kind words, Ju. So what was going on in your coaching that you wanted to improve?
So the key thing is that although I went to like a powerhouse of coaching, a certification to become a coach in Henley Business School in the UK, I still couldn't really understand what was behind in choosing a technique, what some things would work with a client, others not. And most of all, the change felt so hard for most of people. And so I wanted to go under it, understanding what process were behind and be more effective.
So tell us what the experience of the program was like. Was it hard to keep up?
First of all, I think as you design the program, you were also considering how the brain processes information and learn. So the pace was great. It was 1 hour videos that we had to watch in between sessions and 1 hour being in a community of our students for Q&A. So I could do this in my own time. And the conversations were really great where we would really internalize the learning. And then I was trying as we went. It wasn't something I had to wait for the entire program to start waiting. And that motivated me, affecting my brain predictions that yes, something that I can really use. And yeah, it kept me going.
So what you're saying is that you started to use these learnings in your coaching right away.
I did. I started very quickly because that's the way you designed the program, understanding how we could start using it like now. Some techniques that I was already using, I just started to understanding when better use them, what was happening in the brain that was going to make that effective or not. So yeah, it was quite quick that I started using it.
Okay. So was there a moment during the program when something really clicked for you, like maybe a piece of neuroscience that shifted your understanding of coaching?
Yes. Actually, it changed everything. It was how the brain is a predictive machine, right? It's learning from the past. It's always understanding, I call it, perhaps coming from the corporate world, the return on investment of the energy it's putting. But it's also wired for survival. It's not wired for our goals of a better life, better careers. It's wired for survival and predicting for it. So the moment you understand that then the energy we'll invest in change, and change requires energy, that you understand that you have to take some things in consideration. You need to look at your physiology. Do you have the extra energy to invest in something that the brain cannot yet see the return for survival? And that changes everything because you have to understand how you're going to provide this energy before you can start doing anything for sustainable change. So if you're not sleeping, if you're super stressed, you don't have access to your cognitive resources for change. And that changes everything.
You've learned really well, Ju.
Also, if I may give some examples, because the other thing is that very quickly what clicked was I could see that happening in people. Two things, if I may just tell, with my husband. He's a high executive and he is traveling between UK and US, and the jet lag was killing him, but he was managing his energy. And then he got really, really sick. Man flu. I think a lot of us understand what man flu means, but he was truly sick. And then he had to travel very, very long flight, and he didn't quite have the energy. And I spoke to him and said, look, perhaps you just delay the flight. And he was in bed. He was really feeling unwell. And after a while, he convinced himself, okay, I don't have the conditions to make this flight. And the moment he decided he was not going, and then he texted, we need to rearrange, I could see in his face and his body that like he was just there feeling better. And the interesting thing that happened is the next second, I could see his eyes opening and he looked at me with this guilty face saying, oh my God, perhaps I'm not feeling that bad because I feel better now. So perhaps I shouldn't have changed the flight. And right there, you could see the brain in action. What the brain just did is the moment he understood that energy was not necessary for what he had to do after, and he released that, the brain released energy back to him. So he felt better as a result, and then he felt guilty because he wasn't feeling that bad anymore. So that is just how the brain works. You can see it in action. And if you work with this, then you can drive change.
Yeah, what a really nice example, Ju. So how has your coaching changed as a result of what you learned?
In many ways. But the key thing, I think, is that I learned how to listen to what the client's saying, but also I know what I'm listening for to understand if they are having access to all their cognitive resources or if they are threatened or if they are not having that possibility. Because without that, change cannot really happen.
Yeah.
Also, I start helping them doing micro changes to create prediction errors to the brain that the brain understand, oh, the investment in that change is actually not a lot. And it learns from that. And that is very powerful. That's how change really starts. And also, I'm using that to help my clients build what I'm calling progress engines. So you start with these small things, but that becomes how you naturally get the energy and motivation amid all your crazy agendas to really get energy for what you need.
have you noticed a difference in the way your clients respond or the outcomes they achieve? And how have they responded to brain-based coaching?
I have to say, the first thing, it helps reduce burnout because you start releasing energy. You start really helping them to stop beating themselves that they are not succeeding in making change, because that's how the brain works. It's not your fault. You have to also understand and accept that. Then failure is not a problem. It's just information. And then we adjust. So this is a big thing. And with that, they get the outcomes likely they want. But one thing I can tell as another example is I've been coaching a top executive at a very large multinational. It's been a year now. And this suddenly she said, I have this friend that is an executive as well that wants to talk to you. And then the key thing that happened is I asked this person, all right, so what made you want to talk to me? And what she said was brilliant. What she said, I know this person you're coaching for a year, and I don't meet her often, every 6 months maximum. And I've seen her so different amid so much chaos. And I asked them, how come? Because she changed it. And she said, well, I don't know. This person has been helping me. We've been doing this coaching program. And the person told me, I saw the difference. I saw how she's in control of things, how she changed it. I want the same. And so that's how.
Yeah. That's wonderful. So there's something that you said, and you said that it's not their fault. So what do you mean by that?
The moment you understand how your brain works and it's wired for survival, and you helped us understand that very well, Irena, you understand that it's budgeting for survival and for your genetic survival as well. So either for you to survive and then be able to spread your genes. And that's for what's budgeting. So helping them accept that and not beat themselves if they try to do something but then couldn't carry on or that didn't feel like. Because again, the brain will take its decisions and not make you feel like things if you don't have the energy or it doesn't see the reward. It's not their fault. It's how the brain works. So what they can have agency on is, okay, knowing this, what different tactics I will use is to retrain my brain to do what I want to do.
Yeah. And also that the brain is built on past experience, right? And so that's what we mean by predictive brain, that it's going to keep predicting or doing the same things over and over again until we start to consciously change it. And most of what was learned in early childhood. And so that's not your fault, right? Because you had no control over that in early childhood. Yeah, the predictive brain, that's something that I talked about in a previous episode with Lion Goodman. So if you wanted to go back to that to learn more about the predictive brain, you might want to do that. So how has this work changed you, not just as a coach, but as a person or leader?
Yeah, well, in many ways. First of all, it gave me more self-compassion, like I was talking about, and resilience. So yeah, the brain, like you said, I'm 46 years old. It took 46 years of experience to be predicting whatever it's predicting now. So it's not going to be overnight. But the moment also I understand that I have agency over it, how I rewire the brain slowly, actually that you get your power back and feeling in charge of your life and having hope that, now I know what I have to do. It changes everything. The other thing is that I'm much kinder to myself around procrastination, self-doubt. And I know this is part of rewiring. And I don't see those things, again, I don't beat myself. I work with my brain to make it possible slowly. And the other thing, it changed me also in being patient with myself to do those small things, because now I know it's through the small changes that the big changes happen. And then they start happening faster.
Yeah, what a powerful story. So what's one neuroscience insight you now can't unsee? Something that shows up in every session or decision?
I think the main thing, and I probably am going back a lot to this because this is where it starts. It's about the physiology. Physiology is actually so much directly correlated to the results you get in life. That this is the one thing that I help my clients. Change requires energy. And physiology drives behavior far more than willpower. So I can't unsee the value of it. And what I do with my clients, help them see, because again, this is agency. If you change these things, sleep, how you nurture your body, how you make space for idle time and water and everything, it's not just nice to have you for wellness, it's to get things done the way you want. And you can't unsee anymore. And me being a marathon runner, I see that in the physical part, but also I see in building this business out of scratch, right? So that's the one big thing that I tell people, and this is the first thing I look at when I see people struggling. Are you sleeping? Are you eating? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, and that's something that I really stress, isn't it? The mind-body system, and that what's good for the body is good for the mind, for the brain. Yeah.
It is, but also, Irena, that's what you also, through the program, not only helps us understand this, but then you give us tools to work with that, with this predictability, or how to help people track, because a lot of things don't even notice what's going on with their body. Am I getting enough sleep? How many times I eat? What did I eat? And it's not to lose weight and feel like other things. It's for performance. And you tell us exactly what kind of tools we can help people with. And that's what I think for me was the other key things about this program. It is, I came out with a lot of applicable knowledge, which now makes the difference for my clients and for my business.
Yeah, and many people just keep pushing through their low energy, right? And they just keep on going. And no matter how they think they're performing, they're not performing at their best. And then they're susceptible to burnout.
Exactly. And it's much simpler than people think to get out of that cycle.
Yeah. So has your income, client base, or visibility changed since incorporating this work?
Significantly. Because if, like I just said, some referrals start coming because my clients are recommending me more, or their friends, colleagues are seeing and asking, like I just said, because it's visible that they start getting into more control and changing. The other things is that, for example, I work a lot with corporate clients as well. And when I talk to HR people, I help them looking from the neuroscience lenses, what's happening to their leadership, to really help them understand from a neuroscience perspective what these people really need first in order to develop skills or deal with the uncertainty of so many reorganizations and stress these people are having, and the challenges companies are having that the results are not coming. But if you just go there and ask everybody, let's do it, and do not take in consideration where their brains are, how threatened they are at the moment, it's not going to happen. And so they are reshaping their programs, and I'm consulting for this or helping them design these programs and implement. And the other thing that is really cool, coming from the marketing perspective, partnering with creative agencies, receiving briefs from marketing people that want to help their marketeers to become creative problem solvers, not only for communication, but in general for businesses. So I'm partnering, for example, for a big corporation to design a program where we use the neuroscience lenses with the more creative tools and techniques to help them, but in a process that we know is much more likely to get people to become more creative problem solvers. And I'm talking about programs that are going into the 6-digit number, connecting those things. And this is thanks to understanding and helping people work with the brains.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
So what would you say to someone who's considering joining the Neuroscience School but isn't sure they're sciencey enough?
Yeah, I know people get scared about that part, but actually, I think the way you do this in the program, Irene, is that you digest a lot of the research and science, but with a purpose. So you teach concepts that are like applicable, like focus, willpower, decision making, and then the science that supports that, what's happening with the brain, but also what to do then. Right? And I think the science part is important, but You don't have to be a scientist. That's your part. That's why you bring. We just get the benefit of having that digested, but we still get to understand that. And I think that is a great balance that you have there, because we also need that information so we can start thinking about the brain ourselves, understanding what it is, and then what question or what a coaching technique would be more beneficial now to get the brain to a state where the person has more access to their cognition powers for whatever they want. And there is science, but it's really built in a way that you don't need to be a science, and you're not going to become a science, but you will be able to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's my goal. So do you have any really practical examples of how you use neuroscience to help a client change?
I do. So a more recent one, I'm working with this client in Malaysia, and she knows that she wants to change jobs. But again, she said, look, I have no energy to do anything. I want it so bad, but I come back from work, I'm drained. And she was very frustrated. So one thing that I built with her and I'm building with other clients is this progress engine, which basically is, okay, we need to teach your brain that your energy can go here and it's something cool. And the principle behind it, Irena, is like TikTok, Instagram, right? Use with us that we can't get out of that. We keep wanting that because it's the dopamine. Through small actions, you hit dopamine and your brain wants to do it again. So the principle is that use that mechanism to teach that, oh, when I do this, requires me little effort and I have a reward, pleasure, dopamine. I want to do more. So I built with her this progress engine. And the thing was, for 3 days in a row, you just have to do a very, very, very small thing that you commit and then you do. And then she said, come on. But then, not going to really tell me, send one email to one person related to a job thing. So whatever is meaningful to you towards what you want, it doesn't matter as long as it's simple, easy, and you do it. 3 days in a row. Then you tell me if you did, how did you feel? And then she was before and after understanding her mood change. And then 3 days only, and then you stop. Then we talk about and we did the same. And I can tell in 2 weeks, she was coming back to the sessions and she was saying, yeah, and then I built this list and I spoke to these people and I looked up here and I asked her, so I can see you much more. You're doing much more. So did the progress engine work? And she said, oh, it might have worked because now I finish work. I can't wait to start doing my things for my job hunting. And that was beautiful right there. You implement the theory, you get the results for the client.
And the thing is, it's so simple, isn't it? That's something that I use myself, right? When I just get stuck in the self-doubt and the fear and I don't want to do anything, just start with something small. Just make one little step toward what you want, right? Several times, and then it opens up.
It opens up because back to the predictive brain, right? You taught us that it just needs to understand that the return on that investment is worth it towards what you want. And that's the thing. You are coaching your own brain. And that's the beauty of it, which is crazy because it can be an alien concept. I am my brain. Well, let's talk about that a bit. But your brain works in a way that your cognitive part and your wills and goals not necessarily are aligned. You're not only surviving, right? So you need to take that in consideration. And then you have power back over what you want to do and how you want to change.
So do you have another example?
Well, perhaps how I started running marathons. It's not really client related, but it's how I used it and it works and I help other people do the same because everybody is in a sort of marathon. And the first thing about marathons is you only can cross a line, the 42 kilometers, in one way. There's only one way to finish a marathon, which is putting one step after the other and after the other and after the other. And so I focus on the next step and people say, really? Yeah. Next step, next a few meters. Then you break this into small goals because the brain only focuses on releasing the energy and the return on investment from going here to the next 200-meter tree is not as much as 42 kilometers. So it releases energy. And the other thing, when I started, I hated riding. I couldn't even understand how people would run. But during the pandemic in UK, we had 1 hour out for outdoor sport. And I was working so hard for PepsiCo at that moment. And I just need to get out of the house. And I've always been into sports, never running. So I started doing walking, running, and I bribed myself. So giving pleasure to my brain. If you go out and walk, then you can hear some podcasts that I really loved, only then. So the other thing is that I started walking, running, small. And that's the thing. I connected these key things. A small effort, but something I feel a bit challenging with something I really loved doing, the pleasure, dopamine hit, and that connection really did the trick. And I started pushing myself a bit more. And then 5K, whoa, I could do it. And then next 5K, I could do it better. And then off I went. And now I run marathons. And anyone can do it. It's really how you use your brain processes like this to get whatever you want to do that feels hard at start, because it is. And then you build your body, and then you build your brain, and you get there.
Yeah. So you can change your brain.
Completely. This is another thing we learned in the program, right? It is about neuroplasticity, right? It's not only as a child it finishes being able to change. Adults change, brain change is there.
Yeah. And so the beauty too, or the importance of breaking it down into smaller steps, right? Because if we just focus on that big goal, it can be overwhelming and it could just stop us in our tracks. But like you said, it was just one step in front of the other. You just started small and then you rewarded yourself, like with the podcast, and you just built from that.
It is.
And when you run marathons now, you say you don't focus on the 42K?
Never.
It's like one step in front of the other, or the next 100 or 200 meters.
And you're breaking kilometers now, which the max or bigger trenches. But as you start getting closer to the end, when you're really energy depleted, even if you're supplementing, then you started going down. So the next 500 meters, and you focus on that. And that's how we actually, elite athletes, work. I was just watching Djokovic, this super tennis player, talking, I think it was this week. And he was saying, the difference is that I get things wrong when I make mistakes, and then I get pissed at that. But then I very quickly focus on the next point. And that's the thing. You let go of whatever's going and focus on the next point. And focus on the next point. And that's how the brain works. And the other thing, perhaps you might want some other examples how to use the brain knowledge that we get from the program for other things. Because it is still on the predictive brain. But there are other things you learn that how to use that. And one of the biggest things that happened to me, and I will talk about the marathon again because it's very tangible, I wanted to reduce the time. And so reframing and using mirror neurons, understanding that the brain, when you imagine and visualize, it can't really tell if it's real or not. And that's very powerful. If you keep thinking about the bad things, well, that's what I think is happening. And then it's wiring up, the prediction goes there. But if you do the other way around and then re-step how you got to getting faster to the finish line and going back to what would I have done in the race to get there, and you prep your brain to that. What happens is that the brain thinks, oh, I've done this and I've got the reward, so I can do it again. And I'll tell you, I did this as a coachee with a fellow coach that knows also neuroscience from your program. And what happened is that the next marathon, I removed 21 minutes from my time. 21 minutes.
Wow.
Exactly. And actually, I did this also because I was raising funds for a charity. And I had a very generous friend that said, if you remove 15 minutes for your time, I will double the whole donation for the charity. So I was motivated. And doing that, using the brain processes, I removed 21.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Ju. Congratulations. And finally, as we wrap up, what's possible for you now that wasn't possible before?
I think helping people change in tangibly ways towards the goals they really want most. And also helping them have more hope, navigate uncertainty, deal with the burnout amidst everything that is going on in the world, in business, and in their lives as a consequence. It gives me real ways in tangibly helping people.
Yeah, that is beautiful. And I especially love how you said it gives them hope. That's a wonderful way to finish up our conversation. So what's the best way for listeners to learn more about you and your work?
Yeah, so like I said, I founded the Long Game Mindset Coaching, and you can find me through my LinkedIn, which will be in the episode notes. And through the LinkedIn, you can have my contact in the info for my email, or you have the button there for book an appointment. And the key thing is that I offer free 40-minute, what I call get clarity call, that you just hop on my calendar and no strings attached. And they have 3 purposes for you. Help you get clarity on what you truly want, get clarity on then what you truly need now, and if I can help. And no strings attached, you get out with much more clarity on what's going on with you, what you want, and if I can help, even better.
Ju, I'm so happy for all you're accomplishing and grateful for your time on the show today.
I can only thank you because, the way you do the program and also the relationship you build with me and everyone else was truly changing in ways that I can only thank you.
Well, thank you. So thank you everyone for listening. If my conversation with Ju sparked something for you, or you're just curious what it would look like to build your coaching practice on a foundation of neuroscience, I invite you to learn more at neuroscienceschool.com. You'll find the link in the show notes. On the website, you can explore our programs, read graduate testimonials, and see what's possible when you add the brain to your coaching toolkit. Again, thank you for listening, and until next time, remember to work with your brain, not against it.